Alright, I remember the minute the dim little window was licking the timber of the corridor, and the door was a little bit open, the floor was a little bit cold, and I was sitting in the middle of the dimmest, feeling a ripple of bitter emotion in my system, a minimal cynical little rhythm in my liver, because the village was silent. A midnight we stricken, a sim little drizzle of chill in the air, and the corridor was humming a timid vibration of wind in the hinges, and I was leaning a little nearer to the border of the door with the simmering inner monologue spinning and spinning. And then the minute the timber emitted a creak in the ceiling, my grandpa was drifting a little nearer with a brittle little shuffling slippers, and he delivered a sentence a little gentle, a little brittle, a little simple. You ain't scared of the cold. In the minute he said it, a cynical flicker was entering the rhythm of my thinking, because I was feeling a minimal bitter irritation simmering in the middle of my system, thinking, man, every minute he isn't sleeping, he is peeping, he is keeping a vision on business that isn't his mission. And I am just sitting a minute in silence and listening to winter and feeling the bitter little nibble of wind on the skin of my fingers. But still he was lingering, looking and blinking and thinking. A little suspicion was sitting inside of the vision he was giving, like maybe the kid is a little delirious, maybe the chill is a little severe. And I was considering answering middle of minute, deliver a cynical sentence and letting him hear that the winter is simple, the cold is a symbol. The issue is really the rhythm of elders who never are letting a minute be hidden in silence, cause every minute they pivot and visit a vision of living conditions and give an opinion on simple decisions. But then I was sitting and thinking a little and feeling the minimal guilt in the middle of my temper, because really the image was simple. The elder was wondering, maybe he couldn't be sleeping, the village was freezing, the midnight was creeping, the ceiling was ticking, and maybe he simply was seeing the kid in the dim little winter and thinking the shiver was sitting, and maybe a blanket was needed. So maybe the sentence was merely a little concerning, a timid delivery, cynical simmer was entering rhythm again, because the corridor creaking and slippers repeating, a shuffle of vigilant visits was drilling the feeling of living inside of a prison, to listen and elders who linger and listen to live a decision. So finally I lifted my vision and gave him a minimal cynical sentence and said, I am sitting a minute and feeling the winter and thinking and breathing the air of the evening, and no, I am never afraid of no bit to a Brit or a shiver of chill in the skin of my fingers. I simply am living a minute of peace in the middle of midnight, but every minute you drift in the middle of silence and give me a sentence about the condition of cold, like I'm a little civilian and need a permission to sit in the corridor, listen to wind in the center of grin in the grin.